What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about the irreverent love of gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah, and tonight I'm joined by Dave.
I'm one of the only ones left, guys.
And tonight, we're going to start the show like we always do, Dave. Let's just hop right into the main topic. Ain't nobody care about that Twitter? Ain't nobody go right into us with the email? We'll get to those later. Main topics.
But seriously, tag us on Twitter at casualshenanigans with all of your feedback about Jeremiah's terrible accents.
And how much you don't like everything else I do. So for our main topic tonight, we want to talk about post-launch content. Friend or foe? Boon to the gaming world? Or really annoying? More annoying than Dave's air conditioner? Or less? Dave.
Nothing's more annoying than my air conditioner. But it's keeping me alive.
This is your topic idea. Why don't you take it away?
I just like how you introduce it like a clickbait YouTube title, like post-launch content, friend or foe? Like a giant question mark.
Well, that's like classic clickbait. That's not like modern clickbait. Like,
yeah, that's true.
My greatest enemy, all caps. Here's something I mildly dislike.
Joel and I always make fun of those style clickbait videos with like is Battlegrounds the new DayZ? And like you play videos like, no, it's not. The end. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, tonight's topic, I wanted to talk a bit about post-launch content. Mm-hmm. Specifically, the short lifespan that games have for a lot of people these days. I know that some of us are going to be the exception because I think our group, we're a little bit older, but we also, I think a lot of our styles are the same where we kind of pick our favorite games and we stick with them for a pretty good amount of time. I feel like every year, all of us, I would argue, have a couple of our favorite games that we tend to just stick with. Wouldn't you agree?
For the most part, I think I'm starting to do that less and less. Like I definitely played Battlefield 1 for a time and now I only jump back into it like rarely. I stuck with DayZ for a long time and then, just jump back into it rarely. Like I think I used to do that more and more, but now I'm coming back to games less than I used to, but I'd say like in principle, that's still definitely the case.
Yeah. And I think even you doing that less and less, you're still in a weird position compared to a lot of the gaming community these days where people are always looking for the next big thing or the next small thing or just the next distraction, it seems like. What got me thinking about this topic is, surprise, surprise, my continuing obsession with Battlefield 1. I love Battlefield games. This one is it's a good game. It looks good. It plays well. So I'm going to keep playing it, basically. And to me, that just makes sense. Like, I've had a Battlefield game installed since, 2004. Mm-hmm. On whatever computer or console I'm playing on, I've had a Battlefield game installed. I love Battlefield. But, I was telling you guys this week, DICE has been working hard to kind of fill in some of the slow content that's been lacking this summer for Battlefield 1, where even if you have the season pass, Battlefield Premium, that's a whole separate issue, like another $60, that appears to be going away for most of EA games, which is good. Even if you have the season pass, the first DLC wasn't until March, which was 5 months after launch. That's a pretty good window of just nothing new after the game launch. Oh, there was a map in December. But still, 5 months, one map to the DLC. But the second DLC isn't dropping until September. So DICE is doing a very interesting thing where even though the next DLC, the Russian DLC, isn't launching until September, they're going to release a map from it to Premium Pass holders in mid-August. So a month early for one of the maps just to fill in some of that missing content. Additionally, they've added 2 new maps to the DLC, the French DLC that came out in March, and they've released those maps. One's already out, Nivelle Nights in June, and then one's coming out this month in July. So what they've done is, with a slight gap after that French DLC launch in March, they have a new map and new events happening nonstop all summer long, June, July, August, big launch in September. That's going to bring, at the end of September, we've got the 10 maps in the base game. You're going to have 6 total maps for the first DLC, 6 total maps for the second DLC, like 10 new vehicles. I think there's going to be something like 8 new weapons in the new DLC too. Like, they're actually doing more than the usual Battlefield DLC that we've seen since Battlefield 3, right? Like, they kind of had a set standard. It was like 5 weapons, 4 maps, a couple new vehicles. They're really filling in some content. But what got me thinking about this topic and what's required to keep a game quote unquote alive after launch is looking at the Facebook comments on all these announcements. For the Battlefield Facebook page, they'll post like, hey guys, stay tuned to the next couple of weeks for an announcement of the next map dropping for free for premium pass owners this month. Like new content coming all summer long. And you go to the comments and literally the top comment with like 100, I guess, likes on Facebook is, I'm so bored with the game, guys. I went back to Battlefield 4. I'm just so bored. Like we need more content, guys. More content. I'm so bored. And maybe I'm just out of touch. Maybe it's the children that are wrong. But I'm looking at this and going like, I play probably 3 or 4 hours of Battlefield 1 just on my own over the course of a week. Like there'll be a lunch break in there somewhere and like a couple hour session on the weekends. And yeah, I would love to see the DLC launch a little bit faster. It is a long gap between launches, but I'm still more than capable of playing a good game for a long period of time without like a carrot in front of me to keep me playing. And it feels really strange because I feel like I'm in the minority here. What do you think about all this?
I have some thoughts. So I don't think more content is the answer. Battlefield 4 had plenty of content, and none of us have ever spoken kindly about the amount of content Battlefield 4 had. Like, more content doesn't fix a bad game, and it can be great for a great game. More content, sure. Why wouldn't you want more of a good thing? That's why I don't necessarily hate paid DLC or anything. Like, people say that it should just be available for free from the very beginning for all of it, but the reality is, like, if you look at older games where a lot of that content used to be free, it wasn't nearly to the quality and the level of complexity as a lot of what you're getting now. Like, you can't really compare Battlefield 2 maps that were free, like you get a handful of maps for free, to the massive content packs they're making now. But for anyone who's curious, like, why do they do this stuff? Well, they know they're going to need to do post-launch support. Like, they're going to need to patch the game as exploits are found. They're going to need to do security updates. They're going to need to rebalance things as the community tests things for them. Like, no matter how much testing you do, there's always going to be some of that after launch. And if you want people to be playing your game up until the next game launches, which every company does, then you need them to have a reason to keep coming back. And since you already know you're going to be having to do support patches and everything else, extra content is a way for people who really enjoy the game to pay you more money to get more stuff than you would make otherwise. Because if you weren't working on this game, you would need to be working on the next game. And I think normally what most studios do is they have a smaller team working on ongoing content releases while the rest of the team moves on to the main game. So they are doing both at the same time, but they know that if they just released it and dropped it, a lot of people within 3 or 4 months, with rare exceptions, most games are going to slow down a lot. So it is a way to make more money, but it's not like a pure evil thing. Like, it's a way to make more money because there's nothing wrong with making money, and to be able to make more stuff for the game for all the work they put into the engine and the assets and everything else. Like, they want to make more stuff and it's optional. Like, for people who actually want to spend the money on it, you can spend the money on it. For people who don't, you don't have to. Now, of course, you all know my opinion on pre-orders. I don't think you should pre-order games because I think you should I will happily pay full price for full content. Like, when the content's ready, I will give you the money for it. I don't like giving people money ahead of time for content that they promise they're going to make, because there's way too many unknowns that come along with that. And even if a company has all the best intentions, and not every publisher or developer does, but even if they have all the best intentions, some of that stuff might be out of their control. And even if they want to make all this great stuff for you, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. So part of this is, I think people do this to themselves. If you are not happy with the amount of content that's in a game when it launches, which would require you waiting for reviews and waiting to hear what your friends think and whatever else, if you don't think that is a sufficient amount of content for you to pay money for it, you should not buy the game. That's why I didn't buy Battlefront, because I did not think it was worth that much money, because looking at the amount of content there, I thought, even if you guys all really like it, I'll play it with you for probably 10, 15 hours, and then I won't play anymore, and that is not worth $60 to me. So I didn't buy it.
Or $120.
Yeah. So I didn't buy it. And I'm not like saying I took some big moral stand or anything, but enough people did that. They heard the message loud and clear. The next Battlefront is apparently going to have a lot more stuff, because so many people complained about, like, hey, I like this. it just doesn't have enough. Now, enough people bought it that even if those complaints weren't there, they'd still be making another Battlefront. Like,
oh yeah.
The main reason they're doing it is to sell more because people bought it. But yeah, I think a lot of it is people do it to themselves, where like they get stuck in this loop of like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? But if the core gameplay loop is fun, I don't think you should need all the extra content. That should only accent the game, not completely replace your enjoyment for it. Like Battlegrounds is fun, but 5 more maps wouldn't make Battlegrounds 5 times better, right? Like
exactly.
It'd be another maybe 10 or 15%. It'd be some nice variations and stuff. Like that's always cool to hop in and play. But the thing that's good about Battlegrounds is the core gameplay. I mean, it's not perfect, but I mean, like that's the thing you enjoy about it is the core gameplay. It could be on a variety of maps, and the core gameplay would be pretty similar in the same way that like a lot of racing games, Forza has 700 cars and, dozens and dozens of tracks. Well, yeah, there's new car packs and stuff. They release them all the time, but it's designed for, hey, if you're interested in these type of cars, we'll keep making additional things for you to buy. But there's enough in the core game that you should be able to play it for years and years and years if you like driving and the driving's good. Like, that's why you should keep playing the game, not because they keep giving you new cars. Like, Need for Speed had garbage driving. Like, nobody wanted DLC for that game because the driving was garbage. Like, you gave me 5 more cars. What am I going to do with it? Like, and they did post-launch content. They fixed a lot of issues. They added new cosmetic parts and stuff, but it wasn't enough because it wasn't very much content. It felt very after the fact, and the core gameplay issues weren't fixed. And that game's Reddit, was terrible because everybody going like, "Oh, cool, a couple new spoilers. Why isn't the game working? Like, we don't care." And it's kind of the same way a lot of people feel about DayZ. Just because they get frustrated by the development process of like, awesome, a whole bunch of new jackets and you've overhauled the foliage system. Why are the zombies still glitching through the walls and why don't the cars work? Like, and granted, those are separate groups of people doing those things, but you can see where they're coming from. Like, the core gameplay isn't there yet. I don't care about the other stuff. So that's one side of it. Like, if the core gameplay doesn't work, don't buy DLC. And they shouldn't be making DLC. But if the core gameplay stuff is really, really awesome, I'm curious. I don't understand why people have this insatiable need for more constantly. Like, new DLC is good, but I played Battlefield 2 and Bad Company 2 for years with the amount of content it had because the gameplay was fun. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I just don't understand, but somehow I think the on-demand nature of gaming and television and everything now has made it so that there's so many options. If you don't like the slightest thing about the thing you're on, you can dump it and move to the next thing, which can be good, but also it puts a lot of pressure on developers and publishers to be really, really competitive and put out good stuff. So that part of it might be good. But I think it also gives a lot of people unrealistic expectations about how much they, deserve.
Yeah, like exactly. And can I pose this question for you, Jeremiah? I think this is definitely one of those areas for the gaming community where there's a lot of talk and a lot of hubbub of, Battlefield 1 and Forza needs free content. I need updates and I need new things to keep me like going. Level 110 is the cap. Like, I need 200 levels to keep going. But I don't think it actually matters that much. I think people are too distracted no matter how much free content is dropping, because let's talk for a minute about Titanfall 2.
I wonder when this is going to come up.
Because it is a fantastic game, and they have been on the ball with some free content post-launch. There's no season pass, and they've had, 3 or 4 big free map updates and all kinds of stuff. And, I mean, Titanfall 2 is now the biggest game of the year, right? Because of all that free content updates. No, because people can't stay focused on any game for more than a month. I really think it's one of those things where people have an expectation for all this free content and a constant stream of updates to keep them interested. But at the end of the day, like, I don't think, even if the base game is good, that's enough to keep them truly interested. So many people are just always jumping from game to game now. I don't think it actually matters as much as it used to.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we like to talk about, like, how well Battlegrounds is doing, and it is doing really well, like, who's to say that anybody is still playing it, a year from now? Like, maybe it's down to 2,000 or 3,000 people at a time. Like, there are some people that will keep playing it for a long time just because they like it enough that they're going to keep doing it, and that's fine. But since most of the community leaves most games within a few months, you can assume that's still going to be true. So, I mean, it's a hard position for developers to be in. Games are so expensive now, and they're so difficult to make. Like, it's not the same world it was 10 years ago when it comes to game development, or 15 years ago. So I totally see why people would want to, I totally see why they need to supplement that income in some way if they're going to keep supporting the game. But yeah, some of them do it well. I don't know. It's hard to say. I kind of like the CD Projekt Red method. Not that anybody is surprised that we have nice things to say about CDPR. But they release small little bits of content for free, stuff that like the art team can do without it being a massive amount of work, like new clothes or what's some of the other stuff? It was 16 pieces of DLC. It was all small. Like it was a couple side quests, some new clothes,
new haircuts.
Yeah, like it's little things you're like, oh, cool, that's a nice little bonus. It felt like it's small enough to be a bonus, not so big. We're like, well, finally. Like, I needed the Yennefer alternate outfit, or I'm not continuing my playthrough because this is unacceptable. Like, it's nothing like that. But then they released pretty meaty chunks of content that they charged money for. And I think that's a pretty good trade. So, like, instead of just being balancing patch, fix stuff, break stuff, fix stuff, break stuff, content drop, I think it would be good. And I think more people would probably be more likely to, like, pay for stuff for Battlefield or whatever if there were things they gave away for free. Like, maybe they added the French in for free, like everybody can play as the French now, and we're also selling these maps. Like the content's already made. How much of a difference would it be? I don't have any numbers on it, but part of me thinks that, like they would get more people buying premium. Also, at the same breath, I think Battlefield's doing some of this to themselves because they're so desperate to hold on to their community. They're like rolling over. Going like,
they're too reactionary.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. And this happens with the weapon balancing too. Like, you guys don't like the trench plane? Like, beat it with a bat, kill it. The trench plane is garbage. That's everything. Like they nerf things. Like, you want people to nerf things with sandpaper, just taking those rough edges off, not like with a splitting maul.
A great example, Jeremiah, outside of the trench plane, which it's gotten its one nerf so far. I still feel like it's going to come back a little bit in the future. The Martini Henry, the black powder single action rifle, that thing has had 6 or 7 swings of the pendulum back and forth on the balancing for that thing. They are all over the place on it. Like you said, it's too much. It's too reactionary.
Yeah, and I think they're doing this to themselves now because they've trained their community to be like, raise a big stink, talk about all the stuff you hate, complain about content, and now they just seem desperate. They're like, oh, premium friends. Oh, new maps dropping every month. Like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you like this? Like, and no, they don't, because they're going to make one group of people happy and the other group of people are going to be ticked off like every time they change something. Like, I wish they would stick to their guns a little more like they did when they first announced the game and be like, no, we're doing this. Like, we're stripping out a lot of the content. We're dialing things back. Like, this is the game we're making. We believe in it. If it's not for you, that's totally okay. It's still going to sell 10 million copies. Like, it's a successful enough game. I don't think they need to be that desperate. I wish they'd stick to their guns a little more and be like, no, this is the game we made. And if you want all this extra stuff, this may not be the game for you, because all the extra work they're putting into that, like, how much is that affecting the core product itself? Like, is it making the core product better or is it just keeping 5% of people slightly satisfied,
You end up being so reactionary sometimes too that you make dumb mistakes. Like, they just released a UI update because apparently in the new version of Battlefield 1 on Origin, they can push UI updates without a platform update. Like, you load the game and it says, hey, a UI update's available. Click here to restart the game. Like, you have no other option. Well, they can do that without patching the game, which is interesting. So they finally changed the battle pack system where people have been saying since launch, like, why do I, as a player who is in the top 5 or top 10 on my team every single round, why do I have the same random chance as the sniper who's level 4 and 0 and 6 in the back of the map of getting a battle pack? Like, why do they get the rewards just randomly? So DICE goes, oh, okay, we'll change the battle pack system. And they implemented it a couple of weeks ago. It was like a week and a half ago now. First day it went live, it's completely broken. Someone did the math, and if you were the top player on your team, it was going to take like 10 hours of conquest matches to get a single normal just battle pack. 10 hours of first place. They did hotfix that pretty quick, but along with the Battle Pack update, they then removed the end of the round highlights screen, where it shows like all the goofy avatars everyone always has, and it's like best pilot or best repairs, like where it just randomly picks a cool little highlight for someone on the team. I love that because sometimes I would get best pilot, or sometimes I get something totally random like most resupplies, or I'm like, oh cool, like I was a team player that round. They removed that whole screen without ever asking, like, does the community want this? And the answer was no, by the way. They were very unhappy about that. So then they just rolled it back last week. So it's like, new battle pack system, but now it's balanced. Remove the highlight screen. Oh, people are freaking out. Put it back. Yeah, updates are good. There probably is a point where it's just too much, too quick. I mean, even going back to just their normal updates, Jeremiah, they announced in April, okay, guys, we hear you. You want more content and more updates for Battlefield 1. We're going to be doing one patch a month. And it's like, okay, the game's big enough where they probably could do a patch a month just to keep things tweaked. But, like, just coming out and, like, laying down this hard line of there will be one patch a month. Like, well what if you don't really need a patch? Guys, like, if the game is good, then the game is good. And maybe developers shouldn't worry so much about appeasing the rabble.
There's one other game I want to bring up that is an interesting example, and that's GTA 5. Or GTA Online specifically. So GTA Online has received a massive amount of post-launch content. Like I'd say the game online has more than doubled since it released. And they have not charged a dime mandatory for any of the missions. All of the missions are included and free, and it's pretty awesome. Except for some things like you have to buy these big penthouses, or you have to buy gun running lairs and motorcycle clubhouses and all these different places to unlock some of these missions, or someone in your crew has to. And they are really expensive. Like some of those, I don't know what shark cards are going for now. Could you check what the current market value of shark cards are? I think
$1 million of shark cards is like $20.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, see, like $20 to buy like an apartment or something. Like in most games, that'd be $2 or $3 if they were selling it piecemeal. Like they charge crazy amounts of money. Now on the flip side of that, hackers are pretty rampant, and it's not that hard to get millions of dollars that you didn't actually earn in the game, but they're selling this DLC for so much money that you really can't enjoy a lot of it unless you go do races where you can drive the new cars and everything else. So it's not like it's completely locked off, but it's a lot harder to play a lot of the new content unless you are either spending a ton of time on the game or you are spending a lot of in-game money. But to be fair, yeah, go ahead.
If you want $8 million, which would buy you a couple of cars from one of those DLCs, it's $99 US.
Yeah, that's just pretty ridiculous. But to their credit, they have released a ton of absolutely free content for the game along with this. So, like, I think overall they are doing post-launch content well. Like, they release a ton of content, and then they offer up other things you can pay for to help increase, like, the amount of time people are playing and the amount of people who buy the game and everything else. Like, I think they're making a lot of the right moves there. I just wish the DLC was cheaper, like all the stuff you can actually pay for, because I would probably pay for some of it. Like, and I'm not everybody, but, you know, I've got more money than 17-year-old me did, and I still don't want to pay for most of that stuff, because, yeah, it's ridiculously expensive. Like, 4 or 5 high-end cars for $99? I don't think so. Like, if every car was $1, I'd probably have spent $50 extra in the game by this point.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Me too.
Yeah, so anyway.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that's actually why I stopped playing GTA Online, is because more and more of the content was locked behind the virtual in-game money, and I just wasn't going to grind missions to earn piddly amounts of money, and I wasn't going to pay for shark cards. And so while there was, again, to give them credit, some neat free content, so much of it became paywalled that I just lost interest. It was like I would see a trailer for a new DLC and be like, well, this is cool. I'll probably get to experience a third of this stuff if I play, and it sounds like a grind, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to talk about for this topic? I mean, I think we've pretty well covered it. We're old.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And as always, sorry, go ahead.
It is the children who are wrong.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And vote with your wallet. If you think games are doing a great job, support them. If you don't think they're doing a good job, You don't have to be nasty online. You can be respectful online, or you can keep your mouth shut and just don't financially support them. And my little thing I want to sneak in here, or just mention again, is only pay for what you're comfortable paying for. Don't pay for promises. If you're not comfortable buying something as it is, don't buy it. Like, even if developers have the best of intentions, things happen, stuff might be outside of their control. Pay them for what they can actually give you, unless you are comfortable taking the risk. If that amount of extra money does not bother you, you're totally okay. If you blow it and you never see it again, go for it. Like, have fun. But if you're not comfortable with that, like if your enjoyment of this game will bank that heavily on how much they support it after launch, wait till the content's there. But for now, it's time to talk about what we're playing this week. Dave, sounds like you've been playing some Battlefield?
Not at all. I'm so bored. No, I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 1. I played like 3 hours last night by accident. Yeah, still enjoying that game. I've also been trying a little bit of Blitzkrieg 3, which I might be doing a video on soon. That has some very Command & Conquer Generals feel to it. It might pique your interest there. But my surprise hit for Independence Day, which just happened to align with the Steam summer sale, was I finally picked up Homefront Revolutions on Steam. It was $12 for the game and all of the DLC. Season Pass, all the cosmetic stuff, like literally everything Homefront Revolution, $12. And I'm 4 hours in, loving the game. It performs well now, and it is a blast. I can definitely see why there was a bit of open world wonk on top of the performance issues, because I had a few things like I go into a stab animation, and like while I'm doing the animation, the game's like, oh, he's not looking at anything. Spawn bad guys right here. Like, guys, I'm in a cutscene animation. Hold on, don't spawn people behind me. Stuff like that has happened a couple times. But for the most part, the game is performing well. And the, oh man, it looks so good now after all the patches. And the gunplay is fantastic. I just got to the first yellow zone where you're like sneaking around. You have to like blend in with crowds, and you're essentially a terrorist in fighting against the oppressive North Korean overlords in Philadelphia. The story is hilariously bad. A worse premise than the redone Red Dawn movie, which is saying something. Like it's hilariously bad. But once you get past that first cutscene, the game's world is actually, I think, the best argument for the story, because it's just so convincing. It looks great, and you really do feel like you're in a anti-North Korea version of Half-Life 2, honestly, is what it reminds me of. It's really cool. I'm loving the game so far. That's what I'm playing.
Cool. I played some Battlegrounds, had some good matches. Some fun stuff. Spawned into our first match the other night where it was the sunset weather, and it looked really nice, although unfortunately we headed for the apartments. I won't say whose idea it was, but it was probably Joel's. And when we landed there, we very quickly got into fights with people, and we all died within the space of about 5 minutes. So the sunset was really cool up until that point. All the other matches I played were normal, sunny. So, but yeah, had some good matches, still enjoying the game. I feel like all the balancing adjustments they've made have been pretty good. I liked the tweaks they made to drop rates on stuff. I like that you can get suppressors for pistols a lot easier now. No complaints. I found a building. I'm not going to say where it is on air because I don't want to get the secret out there. I feel like this building is going to get hit with the Nerf hammer at some point.
Dice style?
It's too good. I aim for it almost every match now, and I never get out of the building less than completely fully geared. That doesn't mean level 3 absolutely everything. It just means enough ammo and health and everything else that I'm like, it's at least an average run through one town. This one building gets me. It takes about 5 minutes to go through it, but it's like, it feels like an entire apartment complex all in one. And then I've just started playing Rebel Galaxy. Rebel Galaxy is a super light version of Elite Dangerous, maybe would be a good way to describe it, where you have a ship you can upgrade and you go around and do simple missions like protect us from the space pirates, go pick up my salvage, go help with this blockade. It has Firefly-esque music, and when you fight other ships, it's like broadside-based ship combat, like in Assassin's Creed 4, so you pull up alongside people and blast them with your dumb missiles, or you can have lasers that lock on, and lots of banking and swooping around, and banking as much as you can bank in space. It's got all that stuff, so it's pretty fun.
Nice.
Pretty fun. I'm liking it. I mean, I've only put maybe 2 hours into it, but I'm liking it. I just finished up a video. By the time everybody hears the recorded version of the podcast, it'll be live on my channel. But I just finished up a potato masher HTC Vive video that's coming out on Friday, where I tested 10 games or experiences with the potato masher and an HTC Vive. I've bought a bunch more games on the Steam sale too, or a few more VR games on the Steam sale that I want to play and check out. And I'm excited about those. Dave, you need to come over and check out VR one night.
Yeah, I've been checking out Joel's. I need to check out the Vive. Oh, speaking of the Steam sale, it sounds like you might be in the same boat. This is probably the first Steam sale in like the last couple of years where I've bought more than a handful of games. I actually bought, I think, 5 games this Steam sale.
I bought 4. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of them were like $5 ones, but I actually got a handful for once. It's good times.
Cool. All right. It is now time for the news.
News time.
First news item. This is a slightly misleading title, so this is a 2 parts for me bringing this up. One is the information is interesting. The second part is don't base everything off headlines, whether it's with gaming news or regular news. Read articles if you want context, so you don't sound like an idiot on the internet. But PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has sold 4 million copies in 3 months.
Woo!
Which you may not know. Is that Brendan Green, PlayerUnknown himself, says he and his team don't expect early access to last longer than 6 months. And they said this earlier this year in an interview. So this is actually old news that people just really weren't talking about, and it's resurfaced this week. But here's what he has to say. He says, game development is hard. What makes it hard is we work with Unreal, which is a joy because they have a company that's focused on making an engine. So there's 40 people just working on code for the engine. You look at Daybreak and Bohemia, and they're working on their own engines, and that's just infinitely harder. I think the Forge Light engine is a 10-year-old engine. Now, they've improved it considerably since then, but it's the same with the Arma engine. It's 15 years old. Now, DayZ is getting a new engine, and that's just something that takes time. It's something a lot of people don't understand, and they get a lot of hate because of that. I just try to correct them whenever I can. It's like, listen, guys, they'll get finished. Companies are not going to abandon games like that, you know? People will say, oh, DayZ will never be finished, and of course it will. People tell us we're not going to be out of early access in 6 months. Challenge accepted. I can guarantee you 6 or 7 months and we're out of early access. It's the team. It's a matter of honor, you know. We will finish this game in 6 months, which would see Battlegrounds launched in full before the end of October.
I think they can do it because the game is very solid as it is right now.
They could launch it now, and I don't think it'd be a $60 game, but it could be a full $30 game.
I was gonna say that's good because it's not. You think they're gonna increase the price? Actually, Joel.
Hey,
Joel?
what's up? What's up, man?
Probably shouldn't be doing this while I'm driving. That's probably what's up.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Are you playing games? I hear like button presses.
I was clicking my volume on my phone. Am I on video or am I just on audio? I don't know.
You're just on audio.
Okay, good. I'm glad I chose that.
You have
How's
a
it
very
going, man?
soulful stare right now.
I was actually curious if you guys were still on the podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are definitely in the middle of a topic right now. How's it going?
Good. That's about it.
Oh, okay.
What are you guys talking about tonight?
Well, we're talking about post-launch content, but we've already finished that. We're now actually on the news. We're talking about how PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds says they guaranteed they'll be leaving early access within 6 months of the game's release, which would be end of October.
Dude, that is going to be such sweetness if you can pull that off.
Such sweetness.
It will. It will be a win for the entire early access community.
I just wish. Well, actually, no. I'm glad it's not technically a open world survival game, so I can still stand by my original statement of not a single open world early access zombie survival game will release.
Hey, he doesn't have to add helicopters or base building, so I think he can manage it.
As soon as they announce they're adding base building, it's over. It's done.
Oh, Dave, about the DLC. Dave sent me a comment today. We were talking about Watch Dogs because I told Dave, I was like, dude, Watch Dogs just released some sort of DLC. They have like a cop uniform. And apparently, like, all the NPCs will treat you differently as a cop. And I was like, Dave, you got to at least try that out. But then he sent me an image, and it was all of Ubisoft's, like, DLC for Watch Dogs 2. And it was you could buy all the DLC for a small price of, like, $218.
Ooh.
It was just a giant collection of cosmetic stuff. And what was really sad, Joel, was you would never want to actually do that, because I looked through the list, and it was literally stuff like for $1.99, you would get a T-shirt and like a canvas bag texture. And a lot of them weren't great. A lot of them looked like so similar. I can't imagine paying for all those.
The only thing I feel like it would hold you back, Dave, is the police uniform. You still have to always have that like saddlebag or whatever.
As soon as I saw it, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh crap, that has that. Well, Dave's not probably going to be playing it.
Yeah. And actually, I watched one of the videos, and the other cops still shoot at you. So I was like, what's the point? I want to immerse myself in law enforcement.
All right, well, I don't know if I can even hang up while I'm driving, so can you remove me from the call?
Yes, I can. Thanks for dropping in, good buddy.
Yeah, have a great rest of the podcast.
All right,
Maybe some
bye.
Battlegrounds later.
All right. All right, next news item. Forza 7. It's been reported that the Xbox One X version, so this is presumably the same as the Windows Store version of Forza Motorsport 7, will be close to an 100 gigabyte download. Ooh. Now, to be fair, a rep from Microsoft says they're expecting the install size to be 100 gigabytes, with the download size being, quote, a bit smaller.
So 80 gigs then.
And the rep added that the developers have put a continued focus on improvements to download experiences. Whatever the heck that means. There's only one type of download experience I want. Give me a bandwidth limiter so it doesn't murder my internet. Let me pause it. Let me choose where I install it, and then have the servers work. Like, that's all I want. That's the only experience that needs to happen. You'd be surprised how many places can't get that right, including Microsoft, who do not have bandwidth controls on their downloads, as far as I know. But this is interesting, I thought, because it's curious. It sounds like you may have to download the entire version of the game regardless of whether or not you actually need the 4K textures. And my guess is that's not going to be the case on Xbox, but on PC, I am really curious about it. Like, is there going to be an add-on 4K texture pack? That's something some games have done. It's like a free DLC almost that you can choose from, is the free high resolution stuff, which I think it would be nice if they did that like as an optional thing. Same thing as like add-on audio packs or whatever. Like, don't repeat what the original Titanfall did, where you had to download all of the uncompressed foreign language audio tracks, regardless of what language you spoke. Like, that was just MP3s exist for a reason, guys. But man, that is a monster download size. It has to be because of like there's 700 cars and all these tracks and everything's in 4K. Like, that's got to be why. But that is a ridiculous size, especially for anyone on metered internet. So I feel really bad for all those people.
Suckers.
My last bit of news is Creative Assembly has announced Total War Saga, a historical spin-off series. They'll the games will offer turn-based campaign and real-time battles and everything. Like, it'll be normal Total War, but it'll focus on campaigns that only last a few weeks or months. And they said, game director Jake Lusted said that sagas won't be revolutionary new titles or introduce brand new eras. They'll follow on from previous Total War games and inhabit the same time period, or at the very least relate to it, but they're certainly Total War games. So apparently the first saga is well into development, but it sounds like they're going to be kind of doing a big expansion. Remember the old days of expansions where it's not DLC necessarily. It's not just a content drop. Like, it's a significant alternate branch of the game almost, where they use a lot of the core assets, but they add a lot onto it and do additional things. Like, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine are definitely expansions to The Witcher 3 because there's a lot of additional content. I'd say Hearts of Stone is DLC, Blood and Wine is an expansion. If anybody wants like a good comparison who wasn't alive, like, or who wasn't playing games 15 years ago, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah. You just remind me of something. Joe and I have been playing Sniper Elite 4, which has the skin packs you can buy. But Rebellion actually calls them expansion packs. So it's like the Night Fighter Sniper Elite 4 expansion pack, and it's just like 4 playable like Night Fighter skins for your character. There was like review on one of them that just said, "Ooh, Night Fighter expansion pack! Finally, someone's giving CD Projekt Red a run for their money for their expansion packs." I just laughed so hard. Sorry, it just completely reminded me of that.
They say they'll announce it properly in the next few months, but they say it's another spiritual follow-up to Total War Rome 2, like Total War Attila, and it moves the time period forward in much the same way. Interesting.
There's actually a great example of that. Napoleon Total War had a standalone expansion pack called the Peninsular Campaign, which was like $9.99 and focused on the British Expeditionary Force landing in Napoleon's France. No, they landed in Spain, I believe, and then went up into France. But what they did for the expansion pack was like every turn was like half a week. And the world map, was like Spain and some of the surrounding areas, but subdivided like really finely. And it focused on some of the key battles and areas of that campaign, but still with a Total War way of, you kind of like choose your own adventure version of it. But that kind of focus is what I'm imagining for their smaller titles. Do you feel like, Jeremiah, that kind of like DICE trying to keep the Battlefield community happy right now with Battlefield 1, do you feel like Creative Assembly is trying to keep the historical Total War community occupied?
They are
right now,
while
like
making
whatever they can?
while making more Warhammer stuff, because that's what people wanted to buy more of, I'm guessing. I don't know that for sure, but my assumption is those sell a lot better. What do you think?
The Warhammer games or the historical ones?
Warhammer.
I really wonder.
Or it sold a lot better than they were expecting based on the amount of work they put into it. I guess I would start with that.
I really wonder. Yeah. The historical community is, it's everything for Total War up until recently. So I wonder what's more powerful, the buying name of Warhammer or the, last 15 years of Total War historical games? That's an interesting question. Huh.
Well, what's your first news item, Dave?
Well, let's take a look. Open the link. According to PCGamer.com, Ark Survival Evolved is now priced at $60 ahead of its full release in August.
Man, speaking of not doing content right, ugh.
Yeah, remember that time that they released paid DLC because they couldn't pay their artist, even though the game wasn't finished yet?
Paid DLC while in early access, which is just crazy.
And it's like, I think we talked about this already, so I won't spend too much time on it, but they may have been in a serious bad situation, but it's like several layers of awkward and just not good practices where you've got just the fact you have paid DLC during early access, but then like you're having to admit publicly like, hey guys, we literally couldn't pay our artists. It's like, wait, where'd all the money go from all the other copies? It's just super awkward. I chose this as my first news item because Dean Hall commented on this story on Twitter.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
And he actually, I was surprised to see his opinion on it, but it makes total sense. And it makes me hope that DayZ does not follow what Ark's doing, because I know Dean's not on the DayZ team anymore, but it would seem kind of hypocritical. He pointed out that as of right now, if you buy that full $60 copy of Ark Survival Evolved, it's pretty buggy right now still. You're basically, if you buy it right now for that $60 price point, you're buying a hope and a dream that in a month or two, it's going to be actually finished and stable and polished. And it's definitely not right now. And this got me thinking, Jeremiah. DayZ announced in 2013, when they first hit early access, that their price will be going up over the course of the game's development until it hits full price. But now, looking at the backlash against Ark, and the fact that it's hit, according to the PC Gamer article, as low as $10 at times on sales in early access, I really hope DayZ does not put the price raise into effect until the patch is out. Like if they hit a beta milestone, it's like, okay guys, when we get close to beta, the price needs to go up. No, when you hit beta, the price can go up. When there is a product that shows improvement, then raise the price. Looking at the backlash here, it's definitely important to have something that has actually changed before the price does.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that would be best. Hit beta and then raise the price. What I'm curious about is how many people are still playing DayZ. Is it possible to see how many like players it's hitting? Are there Steam charts for that still?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around like 2,800 a day. It's pretty low.
It's pretty low. Is it even worth raising the price? Like, is that just going to hurt their PR more than staying as is? I mean, maybe they need the extra money, but how many extra copies are they really selling? Like, you raise the price now, how much money is that going to get you to compare to the PR backlash? But if they release it and then they go up to 60, I think people will be, they'll be okay with that. But yeah, Ark, when will they do something right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I said, the price increase makes sense if it's going to be a full featured game, and if they had decided $60 is where they're going to land. Yeah, the price has got to go up at some point. But oh man, is the order of operations important in this case? Release the update first, then raise the price. Tyler's got DayZ's Steam charts here. Actually, it's 4,300, so it's not as bad as I thought.
24-hour peak, okay, and its all-time peak was 46,000. So it's running about 10% of its all-time peak. So I mean, that's
it's still alive. I mean,
well, no, it's interesting. So all right, so December 2013 was its peak with 46,000. Within a couple months, it dropped really quickly into the 20s and 30s, which is not bad at all. And then by, let's see, November 2015, which at this point I think I'd pretty much stopped playing it regularly, it starts getting down into the teens. It has one big spike, June 2016. Do you remember what happened then? It got up to 28,000 almost.
The new renderer came out, and that was a big improvement.
Gotcha.
Big improvement. And that was the update that everyone said they're never going to be able to pull it off. Like, it's never going to happen,
right.
And they actually pulled it off.
But what's interesting, you look at those charts, and then the numbers drop back down again pretty quickly, and now they're like in the teens and under 10,000 now. Peak players.
And their last dev update, they basically said, at this point, we're releasing small maintenance patches for the current Steam version, but there will be no more updates to the Steam version until we hit beta. So they actually are entering a time now of not stagnation, but to the public it might feel like true stagnation now, where there's literally just no updates at all for a long period of time.
And if you look at the average numbers, not the peak numbers, it looks like they had about 15, 16 months of consistent numbers before they drop down to a lower level, and they've been consistently at that lower level for almost 2 years. So
yeah,
kind of speaks to what we were talking about earlier. That's pretty interesting. So anyway, what's your next bit of news?
Well, let's find out. Yeah, this one caught my eye because we actually watched this trailer live. The original Fallout 4 The Wanderer ad. I think they played it at E3 2015. Singer-songwriter, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Dion DiMucci, right?
I don't know.
If you hear the song, you recognize it. The Wanderer song.
The Wanderer song.
Just look up Fallout. All right, let's just do it. Fallout 4 trailer, The Wanderer. Oh, it was the live action trailer. Oh, and it was the pre-launch trailer. Oh, okay.
Well, and Google is being crazy slow right now, so I guess I will not be. Oh, here we go. Okay, live action trailer. All right, I'm just going to play a little clip of it. Oh, nope. First we have to watch this advertisement, so we'll watch that silently so everybody on YouTube doesn't have to watch this get double claimed.
Watch the advertisement for the advertisement.
Exactly.
I forgot how well done this trailer was. This thing was so cool. Oh man, I forgot this even existed.
Oh, this
so good.
This song.
Yeah, The Wanderer. I think it worked really, really well for the trailer. It fits the theme, works well with what's going on. Well, the singer-songwriter is suing ZeniMax, who owns Bethesda, for $1 million because he alleges that while his not his publisher, but his label. His label did enter into a licensing agreement with ZeniMax over the use of the song for the trailer. He claims that there was a rider on the contract where he had final approval for the use of the song and whatever ZeniMax/Bethesda wanted to use it for. And he says that he did not have this run by him before the trailer was done. And he finds it, according to this article, finds it offensive and abhorrent. He thinks it's full of immoral images of violence in a casual manner, like casual, just fun violence, basically. And he says that he was horrified to see a song used on it. But he's suing for $1 million. Yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting because I'm like, it definitely has the scent, if you will, of like a money grab. I'm like, man, if you're an artist who just you're not familiar with video games, let's say, and you made this fun song because it's kind of a fun sounding jazzy song, and some big video game corporation wants to use it, there's a good chance like he might actually have been really horrified to see the final trailer. If he's not familiar with Fallout and what's going on, and he just sees this random guy just shooting people, wandering around in an apocalypse with like nukes going off in the background. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see ZeniMax settle on this one because it could get ugly. What do you think?
I think they'll probably just offer him like I don't know, if they offered him like a couple $100,000, he'd probably take it, and for them it'd be a drop in the bucket. So yeah, my guess is they'd probably settle it just to avoid the hassle.
I'm going to leave this trailer open and watch it after the podcast because I'd forgotten how awesome that was. Yeah, that's my news for the week.
Cool. All right, we don't actually have any mail this week. Nobody wrote in to talk about, what was the thing from last week?
Wow, we can't remember.
I've totally mind-blanked. I'm tired. I've totally mind-blanked on it. Something we didn't understand, and now we're old and we've forgotten. Why do people listen to this podcast?
No, that's the perfect scenario right there. We asked a question because we're old, we don't understand, and we're so old we forget the question by the next week. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry. Well, thanks so much for writing in. This is episode 195 though, so that means we are 5 episodes away from episode 200, which really is not special other than that's an arbitrarily large number, I guess, and we've been doing this a while. So do you have anything else you want to talk about before we go this week, Dave?
No, I think we covered it all.
Sweet. Well, this has been a nice trim length podcast. We hope you all enjoyed it. As always, you can find us on Twitter at casualshenanigans. You can write into casualshenanigans@gmail.com or check out our website, casualshenanigans@gmail.com. If you haven't yet, check out the little brother podcast, Casual Shenanigans Tech, where Dave and I answer your computer build or tech related questions as best we can. For anybody who is thinking about writing in to ask like, hey, are GPU prices arbitrarily high right now? Yes, they are. How do you pronounce it? Ethereum? Is that how you say it?
Don't ask me.
Okay, the name of the new cryptocurrency,
Mr. Masher.
The name of the cryptocurrency that everybody is.
I don't even keep up with any of that.
Yeah. Oh, Tyler wrote in and said it's a me, and this is fan mail. Thank you, Tyler.
I liked it better when we didn't have fan mail.
No, thank you to everybody who comments or writes in, or whatever else. We appreciate you guys. Actually, I do have one funny comment I want to read on the on the E3 video that we played on the podcast a couple weeks back. The shot of Joel sitting in the party where the loud dub-wub music is going on in the background, and he's just staring at the camera. Nathan commented and said, "I think I can feel Joel on a spiritual level."
Oh man, yeah. No, that was a fun video. That was good.
It was. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch episode 193 or check the video out on Dave's channel, along with additional E3 2017 content from the talent, Evil Viking 13.
No, don't encourage that. Don't encourage
Dave, the talent, Evil Viking 13.
Dave, the talent, the not so evil Viking 13. This now.
The evil talent Viking. No, it doesn't work. Evil, the talent Viking 13. The not so.
Dave, the not so evil talent Viking.
Oh, 13. The talent Viking. What does that even mean? Nothing.
Oh, this is awful. Shut it down. Turn the cameras off. Shut it down.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and being part of the show. And as always, stay casual.
Because I know we will.